What's going on, world? And these real estate streets, we got relationships out here in these streets. Some of my relationships go back 25 years, some relationships go back 20 years, and then some relationships go back to the start of the Social Selling Made Simple podcast when I was able to interview none other than the Zillow killer. We're going to talk about that and how you became the Zillow killer. But my boy, James, what's going on today?
Always an honor to be here. The funny part, I never ever went by that. It was more of an, we'll get into that, but I'm James.
You know what? But let's talk about that real quick, right? I was named the queen of foreclosures because of an email address. My email address was queenofforeclosures at Comcast, and an article opportunity had come up in the city of Chicago, and they called me that based on the email address, and it just kind of stuck. I didn't call myself that. It was just an email address, right? And then you wear a T-shirt, right? I think it was Edmund, wasn't it?
Yeah. Exactly.
And you became the Zillow killer. But let's talk about this. You knew then the power of marketing and ads. And let's move forward now 5 years, right?
Mhm.
And we're coming off of everything Deion Sanders, right? Prime time. And the fact that ever since he did his reality TV show when he was still married as a Pilar, right? With the house in Texas, he's had media following him. And we live in an attention society, right? What has shifted in the last 5 years in your core business?
Honestly, just the tools, right? The tools, and I think people are more receptive to the understanding that attention is just what the world is. Like, we'll die on the internet, so we've accepted that, and the clarity that everything that we see when we talk about tech is nothing more than an advancement of communication. So if you can hold that, you can look at, when we talk about content and marketing is messaging, content is conversation at scale. It's all about how you're able to articulate yourself and get your message out there. So yeah, the platforms, like the social platforms, have I don't want to say evolved. They're just broader and more accepted. But the when you tell somebody the mediums of how they can communicate from audio or video, people are a lot more receptive because they know that's what it is, the world we live in, right? So as for the business shifting, it really hasn't changed a whole lot. It's just easier to have those conversations now. And now the price is, from them understanding, justify the price, but the price is going up, right? So, because it's just the way of the world in the sense of how we have to get our message out there. And like we said, marketing never ever stop. And if we want to use like these big words like marketing and social and the different, oh, you need to be doing videos. Why don't we just simplify it and just say you need to get very good at communicating your message, and either you say it through video or you put it on audio, but everything we see is nothing more than an advanced level of communication.
So when I think about an advanced level of communication, when I came into real estate, a couple of things that I knew coming into real estate, right? Keeping in mind that the pre-license course does not teach us how to sell real estate. I knew that I was an entrepreneur, and I knew that sales and marketing were going to be important to my company. And I've had other fellow realtors kind of joke, and let me be clear, not in a positive way, right? It's sort of like, well, Marky, you're the world's greatest self-promoter. And that's because I live by two philosophies. Closed mouths don't get fed. So a lot of times when people see me on stage, I have asked for opportunities. If I see it and I realize they don't have a me there, whatever that looks like for you, I'm asking for the opportunity because I believe that I put out enough value to justify being able to ask. And the next thing is secret agents don't get found. So it's baffling to me how people want to make all this money,
Mhm.
but they do not want to daily tell people what it is that they do for a living because they don't want to come across as being salesy. And I'm thinking to myself, that's like the most uh backwards
Mm,
thinking to me
correct.
because I'm not going to hire you to sell my house if you can't sell me you,
Eh,
right? And I did a 2-year stint at Pfizer Pharmaceuticals.
mm,
Just so happened I have a pen. And the regional director told me to sell her this pen. Mind you, I had no pharmaceutical sales experience. And I picked up the pen and I started talking about the efficacy of the pen
mm,
and how I can hold it in my hand
mhm.
and the ease of being able to sign and the fact that I can put it in my pocket, turn it upside down and have no ink. Like I sold, right, this pen. And
Correct.
I got a job at the number one pharmaceutical sales company with no sales experience. Guess what? But I had marketing experience.
Yeah.
And what I was thinking is that I had to market in order to be able to sell. And because I was good at sales, I knew how to market.
Mm,
So you said the platforms have changed.
mhm.
What what did you implement new in the last 12 months? What's your new
Of
phase?
course, AI is the newest thing that everyone is. I mean, we like our toys, right? But I think we heard AI and we immediately thought Skynet and didn't understand there are different levels in AI, which who would know that until we've experienced it. Um, I think really back into what you said, your movement and your trajectory of how you grew and just those like you, like ourselves grow, we immediately accept that selling real estate, we have to be entrepreneurs first. And agents have a way of separating that, right? They think I'm a realtor, I'm a real estate professional, and never accept that you got into this to build a business. I don't really care about the culture that's connected to this, right? That's just cultures everywhere, even in the platforms. But when we accept that we're an entrepreneur, we understand that there are certain elements of entrepreneurship that has to happen. And you get a couple agents in our industry. We sell the highest price product on the planet, so we make decent money. Sad part about that, large majority of the industry is broke. They won't say it because they live through conversation. It's just cool to talk about all the houses they sold, but not about what they really have. And most of our industry hasn't accepted the entrepreneurial stance. That's why, this is why a large majority industry is going to sell real estate until they die and have nothing to show for it, right? They'll have no uh, appreciating assets. They'll have no transferable assets, but they'll have some cool stories about how many houses they sold. And that's because they most don't understand that you got into this to build a business. And if your badge of honor or your stance in this industry is how long you've been selling it as a technician, it's a clear indication you haven't figured it out yet.
You know what? It's gonna be some mad folks, but they need to hear the truth.
Oh yeah.
So before I called, I told you about the fact that I had purchased another business. So when the interest rates went up in 2022, it was feeling a little 2007 to me. Okay. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, I'm not doing this again, which was the foreclosure crisis. And just so happens today, this morning, I went and took a screenshot of a couple of pictures.
Mhm,
And I believe in passive income, right?
mhm, mhm,
Normally, what I'm doing right now is I'm taking my residual income to buy passive income assets because I am clear July the 31st, 2033, I want to be financially eligible to retire, whether I retire or not. So
mhm.
when I pulled these numbers this morning, I realized that in one of my passive streams over the last 5 years, I've earned $186,456. Now, I did not take, and this is not my speaking income. This is not book sales. This is not my membership. This is not that. Okay.
Mhm.
But I took every penny of that money because I did lose everything in the foreclosure crisis. And I do have $100,000 in my SEP and Roth IRA, managed at Chase. Okay. I paid a publisher to publish my first international best-selling book. I didn't become a publisher, right, to make money selling books. I became a publisher to be able to charge more as a speaker. And let me be clear, it was genius and it worked. All right. I then also took the rest of the money. So none of this money have I pocketed, right?
Mm.
All of this money has gone somewhere else, okay, in order to create passive. So I'm taking passive income
Mhm.
to create additional passive income
Mhm.
because I'm an entrepreneur. Okay. Because we have to make this decision to live below our means. Okay.
Mhm.
And I was talking to someone after the deductions and everything. My company still operated at a 29% profitability, right?
Yes.
And no one's talking profitability. No one's talking net income. We live in a world of gross. Okay,
Yeah.
well, my gross is this. Just because a person makes a lot of money does not mean that they have any, right?
Mhm. That's
And
very true.
I envisioned when I came into the industry what I did not want in my future.
Mm.
And I want an opportunity, right, to be able to retire if I desire, right?
Mhm.
I took 93 days of paid time off in order to have 3 surgeries,
Nice.
right? We're an underinsured industry, which
Mhm.
means if we're underinsured medically, that means we're also underinsured mentally.
Yes.
Okay.
Of course.
Now, people not paying attention to that. This is why I reserve all arguments for my husband because I don't know. No,
Yeah, I
Rembert,
understand. I
I don't
understand.
understand what your mental state
Yeah.
of mind is because if you can't take care of your high blood pressure, if you can't go and have knee surgery and hip
Mhm.
surgery, or you can't, I'm looking at people's
Yeah.
mouths. You can't get your cavities
You can't
fixed,
afford to get sick.
right? You can't afford to get sick
Mhm.
mentally.
Mhm.
Why am I going to argue with you?
Yeah, it's true.
Because if you're not taking care of the physical, I already know the mental is depleted,
And well,
right?
well, well, it's where the information is coming from as well.
You got to shore this up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You, if we don't shore this up, something I did should have been did it or been done it, whichever way you want to say it. I left all of the private Facebook groups
Same.
that are not managed. If I
I
come into a group
mhm.
and you call somebody out their name, I'm
Mm,
not in the right group,
understand.
right? If
Mhm.
you spread lies, I'm not in the right group. If the Department of Justice can slide up into that group and record our conversations,
Right.
and I end up with a antitrust violation,
Yeah.
I'm not in the right group.
Good.
Now, why did you leave the groups?
Well, I left everything because I wanted to protect my name, and I know my weight. I know what I bring to the table, and I know how hard I work to get to where I am. So, I personally didn't see the value in being in some of these groups, and I prefer to pull from power. So if I got to pay for it, I'll do that. So a free group meant nothing to me. Not to dismiss it, but if it doesn't add to the future version of me, I'm wasting my time because in all truth, even our past has no meaning outside of what we put present, right? So, hindsight is 2020. So I don't even I'm very conscious about where I'm willing to, take information, who I'm willing to be around and who I'm willing to talk to. And my no's are complete sentences. So I don't really need to explain to a person of why I said no in the sense of, well, I left the group. Yeah, it's just not a good look. And that's enough. Even with events, conferences, for 2 years, I said no to speaking. right? And people was like, dude, I don't see you. That doesn't mean I don't exist, right? Like you guys got this internet thinking that this is reality. And I know for a fact, because I'm in this space, that perception is louder than the truth. I know you guys look like y'all got it, but you broke. I don't want to look broke or look like I have it and be broke. I rather build legacy. And as much as people think that that's not important, that's Bible, right? And I'm not pushing my beliefs on anybody. Scripture says a good man has enough wealth set aside for his children's children. I am trying to be a good man. And that was required for me to isolate myself from everything so I could be a good man. Not great, a good man. And I don't think, just what the industry has allowed us in a sense of breaking financial curses and opportunities and the internet in the sense of access. We're so caught up into the culture of, number me, like the term number one doesn't even mean anything anymore, right? Number one, what? Right? I sold 100 houses. What? Right? It means nothing. And it holds no weight anymore, right? You look at these events and conferences, people are speaking that have nothing to do with the industry, like nothing to do with the industry, right? They don't know what it is to be on the front line. And that's why a lot of what we see mentally that people are consuming. And I'm not saying you don't have to go out to get information. Like sometimes we have to stretch out of the industry to get the proper information, right? But the leaders, so-called leaders in our industry, have no clue what it takes to be on the front line. So they don't know the mental capacity of what some agents go through. And every agent needs to understand if we ain't building this up properly, and if we're around certain environments and consuming certain information, as much as you think you might mentally have it, no one is exempt from the battlegrounds. The real battleground is up here. And until we can understand what we want, where we're trying to go, well, selling real estate makes sense to everybody because it gives them something to do. I'd rather build a business. I'd rather build something that lives after I die.
When you said that, I got a little emotional. So you might not know my story, but my grandfather came from Mississippi with nothing. One
Uh,
pair of shoes, they had holes in them. My grandfather did not graduate from eighth grade. However, this 2024, my family's business has been in existence for 70 years. We are Chicago's second oldest Black restaurant behind
nice.
Harold's Chicken. My
Nice.
family has sold more pork rib tips than anyone else in the city of Chicago. My grandfather has been inducted into the Barbecue Hall of Fame, and
Oh,
he took care of his children,
mm,
his grandchildren, and his great grandchildren.
mm,
And when my 19-year-old father and 17-year-old mother presented as pregnant,
mm.
my grandfather said, Lemons take care of lemons. We will take care of this baby.
Nice.
And when I showed up 25 years old and pregnant, and I'm sitting up at the barbecue house all day, and eventually he looked, he said, I don't have no more money for you. I just bought you that building. This is what he said, right? And I said, no, I'm not here today to talk about money. I said, but I am pregnant. And he says, well, let you know one thing. The same way in which we took care of you, we shall take care of your child too. And in that moment, I knew everything was going to be all right. So I understand, as a woman, I go hard like men do, right? And I'm going hard because I already know that I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, right? My grandfather he didn't have to take care of me like he had birthed me. You would have thought he was my father, the way he provided and took care of me. And it wasn't that he just took care of me, he also took care of my mother, right? Um, and he was good, but I always wanted to have the ability to care for mine in the same way in which he cared for me.
Nice.
And we have gotten away from what building a legacy looks like because we're unwilling to make the sacrifice, right? Building a legacy comes with a sacrifice. My grandfather was at his business 6 days a week. He only
Mhm.
took off on Tuesdays. My grandmother was buried on a Tuesday because my grandfather didn't want to shut his business down. Do you hear
Mm,
me?
mm,
And he walked around in Docker pants and a plaid shirt every single day. But he had enough money to take care of his children, his grandchildren, and his great grandchildren, and the people who work for him. And so there's a lot. Going back to and I'm a PK, right? So I was
mhm,
born and raised in church.
mhm,
And there are some philosophies, in which I believe in, and leaving a legacy is giving them the ability. And I don't believe in just giving anybody anything. My
mhm.
attorney laughed at me. She said, Marky, you giving everybody an allowance when you leave. You're right. Because guess what? Most people won't manage your money the way you manage it.
It's true. That's true.
I don't anticipate they're going I haven't seen anybody who received a lot of money, who managed the money in the same manner as the person who left them the money. So I want you to get a little bit every single month for a long period of time, right? Why?
Mhm.
Because I don't want you forgetting about me. And they will forget about you, right? And so when we think about creating that legacy and these different tools, what is something that you think that real estate professionals need to focus on this year that historically you're not seeing us focus on?
It's fascinating. You would think after COVID, it would be easier for people to hear you should be doing videos. Like you would think that would be what I'm saying? Like you would think, pre-COVID, it would be like much an easier conversation. And I understand. I get that it's uncomfortable, but when you're at a place, and it goes back to when you have that growth mindset, you understand real growth only happens in a place of discomfort, right? It's unfamiliar. Some people would prefer uh, a familiar pain than the discomfort of having anything they want, just because it's you can't you can't like define it in the sense of I know this is going to be right. That sense of uncertainty people run from, right? Selling real estate and going from deal to deal and waiting for a referral to come through. That's familiar, right? But putting yourself in front of strangers that you can't actually BS, right? You got to know what you're talking about, or have something to know what you're talking about, or be willing to be bad at the thing until you get good at it, is more terrifying to people than anything, right? And everyone will raise their hand and say, "You put me in front of them, I'll sell them." Everyone says that, right? Well, the internet is giving you the ability to get in front of thousands, right? We go from one to one to one to many, but that learning curve, like people don't understand. Simply put, learning curve means you're bad. That's all I'm saying. You're gonna be bad until you get good. So you suffer through the learning curve so you can get good. But the one thing that we know for sure, right? Two things. With time and reps, you develop new skills. You get better at it. You may not be, what you see in your head right now, but everything you're doing now is for the future version of you. And our industry we don't have leaders that have taken that behavior shift that help people understand, like, listen, you're starting here, but what we're preparing you for is the future version of you. This is why you have to do this. So if you want to be this, you want to have this business, you want to make this money, you want to have something behind you, and you want to do these different things. I'm not talking to the present version of you. I'm preparing the present version of you that is going to take the future version of you to do that. But that only happens with time, reps, and being willing to be bad at it. So when you tell a person, you can have a really big business. Well, how? Got to be able to market. Okay, what do I buy? Now let's just start putting out videos. Oh, okay. All right. I think that's what you get. I'm scared of videos. You do realize, right? Like, what you look like and what you sound like. That's it, right? Ain't nothing changing, right? You sound exact and look the same when you're in front of people. We accept that, right? The fear people understand is when you live, and this may be a little bit heavy for people, but when you have a perception or your own internal perspective about yourself, And then you look in the mirror and realize you got stuff all over your face. Until you looked in the mirror, you thought you looked good, right? You thought it was all together until you looked and it was like, oh, snap, right? That's what video does. So it forces you to get better. It's forcing you to look at yourself, right? It's forcing you to see this is what you look and sound like. So, you know what? You really don't know as much as you think you do. It's the reality, right? So why don't we get better? Why don't we work on getting better? Because the world in itself is a tension based society, right? This is here. Fascinating part about all of that is the ability to market right now is free. Don't cost us anything to do it outside of the expense of being uncomfortable, not being good at it, or being what we see in our heads. But we can always better our best. And if we're really serious about building something, when we understand that this industry, just the real estate industry, can be the keystone to breaking financial curses, right? When we understand we sell the highest priced product on the planet with 2 years, two weeks of education, right? Like, what other industry gives us the ability to sit in this space where the financial capabilities, the attention capability, like you could come into this industry, and if you make enough noise, you could be a superstar in this industry. There's so many people I know that, just because they have the attention, people run to them. I mean, we mentioned it earlier, like the people that and this is no shade on anybody either. And it's just how the internet is. The people that we run to for coaching and training and that lead our industry have never done the thing. How is that even possible? And that's because of what the internet has offered, in a sense of the manifesto of the internet is being able to resonate, right? Say something that's relatable, omnipresent, do it enough that people see you everywhere, and intimacy. Just don't BS me, right? And the BSing side of it is that perception is so loud that you don't even realize some of these people are saying they're doing a thing that they've never done, but it sounds like they do. It sound real good.
I always say at the beginning of each class, I don't teach theory. And it actually comes back to my second teaching experience. So I started teaching in 1993 at Chicago Public Schools. Loved the kids, did not care for the parents. At the age of 25, started teaching on a collegiate level, hospitality management. I had hospitality experience, but I didn't have enough experience. And so at the end of my first year teaching on a collegiate level, I told myself, now is not the time to do this. You need to have some more real world experience before you do this. So being honest with yourself, right, about your skill set. And so I went to go acquire additional skill so that teaching could be fun, so that I could be able to look at the back of my hand and tell you exactly, you do this, this, and this. When I came back into education in 2006, I didn't think I would come back until I was 40, right? So I was 4 years early. The feeling was totally different because not only did I have the degrees in the formal education, I also had the real world experience, right? And so every time I teach a class, I'm not teaching theory. I actively engage with these tools, right? I was in the top 10% of realtors in the city of Chicago. I'm my company's number 3 attractor. We're the number 1 franchise in our franchise system. So, there's something that can be said about someone who understands in their gut the emotion. Because most people very few people will tell you, well, the pre-license course doesn't teach you how to sell real estate. Actually, I think I'm one of the first people I heard say it, right? And I've been saying it for some time. Like that book, I studied the heck out of that book.
Mhm.
And I realized within 12 months, that book didn't teach me nothing. Like, okay, I get it. Now I need to go learn. Because you started at ground zero. Having a real estate license, even though you had all those butterflies in your stomach, Look, I can go back to going to H&R Block at Lake and LaSalle, right? Leaving the book in the car, looking at it a couple of more times to see, right, before I went up there, and I took that exam. It was the most exhausting experience in my life. And so, yeah, we have a lot of people who make a lot of money off of us, but they've never endured one day what it is that we've had to endure. And that's why I went and invested in another business, because I could feel the feeling again of what we went through in 2007. And it was like, you know what? I need to do some things different. And what I will say right now, mentality, mindset, licensed real estate professionals are exhausted. Anything that does not support growth, ideas, and respect, at this point, I'm staying away from it, because you are a part of the problem. You're definitely not a solution. If you can't tell, we beat up right now. You know, as an industry, the industry is beat up right now.
Especially,
So something that you said, about leaving your legacy,
Mhm.
I have a picture of my son now as my first slide, and I go back to being that unwedded mother who
Mhm.
wanted to earn an above average income, yet feel like a stay at home mom, and took my son's father off of child support so that I could do that without any mental stress. And to see your child graduate from college and then decide that they want to come into real estate. Real estate has been my everything. It's financed my ability as a mother who received less than $5,000 support in 27 years to care for a child, meticulously care for the child. But it all had everything to do with what? My grandfather.
And
Real estate can be your everything.
they can.
100%. So if people want to do business with you, because you got to tell people what you do, because you do a lot of stuff. So what do you?
Yeah, of course, of course. Well, right now, like I said, the even just the whole Zillow killer name came from my agency, and my agency now has evolved where uh, we work with hundreds of real estate teams and brokerages on the advertising and the marketing side, mainly the advertising side, because most businesses don't know how to kind of maneuver when it comes to spending, right? The marketing side is subjective. I think anybody that's willing to help you be consistent can help you with marketing, and you can always improve your messaging. But when it comes to advertising, advertising is the science behind it. So, Digital Natives manages hundreds of real estate teams and brokerages worldwide. We take care of all of their ad spend. I mean, the daily ad spend right now is easily in the six figures of what our company put out for these different companies. So I understand what that all is, and this is why I'm more comfortable telling a person because we think a lot of agents jump out of the gate and they want to get into advertising, and advertising is honestly secondary to everything else, right? Advertising is not the first thing you do, even though you have access to it. But if you don't have a message, we have nothing to advertise, because advertising is nothing more than amplification of the message. So I always tell people to focus on their marketing and build up their messaging. And then the other company that we secured in about the end of 2019 that I acquired was called ROAS Consultant, where we handle voice-based campaigns, augmented reality, and some uh, voice augmented reality. What's the other thing we do? Uh, Escaping me now. A messenger, right? Messenger bots. There we go. You know why? You know why messenger bots escape me? Because we're tying a lot of the LLMs into it now, so we don't really say messenger bots anymore. Everyone's just saying AI. And that company works with more commercial-based companies. One of our clients is Lego Toys, Warby Parker, Macy's, quite a few Adidas, Adidons, if you understand how to say it properly. So we deal with companies like that for those type of campaigns. So seeing where AI is and where things have evolved to, we've been in the trenches since 2019. playing into that space. And it's only just made it more accessible to the public. It's not like this stuff is really new. It's just more accessible now. And what's good about that is when we bought the company, I bought the company to assimilate it into digital natives, but it was so expensive for people to use the products and it was so foreign, it just didn't make any sense. Now that it's more in more of a public beta setting for everyone, now we can make sense. So when people want to do voice, you really want to get yourself on Alexa and Siri and have those type of those campaigns. We can make that make sense now. And of course, we talk about messenger bots. A lot of people only equate messenger bots to Facebook Messenger and Instagram Messenger, but it's broader than that now, right? Now, with what ChatGPT has offered in the sense of their messenger bot, now we have more of a cooler way to call it. That's kind of what we focus in on. And right now, my real focus is we're buying into different companies. So right now we either we'll buy into the company or we'll buy the company, right? But that only happened from selling real estate. And I'm trying to make what we build. I'm trying to make it very hard for my kids to break it when I'm gone.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. And so if you have your messaging together and you're looking to advertise, then you need to reach out to James. He's not new to this. He's been doing this for some time now. You were tenured at the point in which we had the opportunity to interview you back in 2019.
hmm
I want to thank you for being consistent and for being our guest today. Everybody, if you're looking to grow your business in 2024, then James is the man to help you. But you got to be ready because he's a straight shooter, just like he was today. Thank you, James.
Appreciate you.